What's up guys, it's your boy Trav, and today I'm coming at you with 6 of by far the best first mods to go on and get done that actually give you gains, like noticeable performance improvements. Oh, and we're doing them in the order they should be done. And at the end, I'll be serving up an honorable mention. I'm not gonna waste any more of your time, so let's jump right into it here on Idealist. We're kicking this list off with the most basic of them all. Get your maintenance up to date. Whether it's a new car to you or one you've owned for a while, make sure all your fluids, filters, and wear items are dialed. There's no point in doing any upgrades to a car that's been set up to fail right from the get-go due to old, worn-out, serviceable parts. So, if you don't know where your car's at in its normally scheduled maintenance interval, I strongly recommend you just spend the time and money and make sure everything is up to par. Now that means change your fluids, all of them, meaning engine oil, diff oil, transmission fluid, coolant, power steering juice, and brake fluid. None of it's hard, and there are DIYs for pretty much every car on the internet. So you can save a few bucks here and do it yourself. Just go get a basic set of hand tools, which I've linked my favorite in the description down below. And if you're not a seasoned mechanic, set aside a weekend and get it done. Change your air filter and your spark plugs, change your cabin filter, and make a plan to repair or replace anything that's worn out or not working like it should. Kinda common sense stuff here, fellas. Now, we're working on a video that shows you how to properly inspect a car, but it's not ready yet, so hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss it when we finally get it done. I cannot stress enough the importance of tires. Besides maintenance, if there's only one thing on this list that you actually do, it's this one. Tire technology's come a long way, even in the past couple years, and a modern, high-quality tire will literally transform how your car drives. Good rubber lets you accelerate harder, turn harder, and brake harder. And even if your tires seem to have plenty of tread left, remember, tires are only good for about 5 years. So check the date codes on the sidewall. Make sure they're still good. Using expired rubber products is never a good idea. Ask me how I know. If you're thinking about upgrading wheels, well, perfect opportunity. Maybe go for something a little wider, a little lighter, something with a bigger contact patch. Just do your research before you whip out the credit card. Now, number 3 on our list is probably by far the most overlooked. All the power and grip in the world doesn't mean anything if we can't bring it back down to make the next corner. Stock brakes are more than adequate for the street, but really before we even start thinking about going faster, at the very minimum, we have to make sure the braking system's in good shape. Fresh brake fluid and new rubber lines, or better yet, some upgraded steel braided lines, make a huge difference. Big brake kits look super sick and add a ton of performance, but they're expensive. Look, you don't have to go nuts here, guys. Unless you're adding hundreds of horsepower or building a car dedicated for track duty, you can almost always go with a high-performance pad and rotor coupled with high-performance brake fluid to get you out on track and start working on the 4th thing on our list. Okay, this one mod doesn't actually have anything to do with your car. At number 4, we're not so much gonna be working on the car, but rather working on your driving. Deep down, you might believe you're the Stig, and maybe with a little practice and training, you could be. But chances are, your exact same car, even with all the mods on this list and you behind the wheel, versus a completely stock version piloted by a pro driver, well, the results will almost certainly speak for themselves. So learning how to drive your car properly will have by far the biggest impact of anything on the whole list. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, it doesn't cost that much money. There are always local car clubs doing driver skills days and autocross events, and most people are more than happy to go out on track with you and give you some pointers. Go get yourself signed up for a track day with an instructor. It might cost a couple $100, but I promise you, it'll be well worth it. And honestly, give you a chance to go find the limits of your car with its current setup and make the gains of this next mod taste just that much sweeter. So with good sticky tires, beefed up brakes, and now some skills under your belt, it's time to talk suspension. Lowering your center of gravity and improving compression and rebound characteristics can absolutely transform your ride. Couple that with bigger, more aggressive sway bars to get rid of any unwanted body roll, and you've got a winning recipe, my friend. I just upgraded the suspension on my own car. I went from stock to some cheaper middle-of-the-road coilovers, and then almost immediately sold those, bit the bullet, and upgraded to a proper motorsports coilover setup. Decent suspension for my car isn't exactly cheap. Good news is, a lot of companies make pretty affordable, really well-made suspension parts for most cars out there. Mine's not one of them. So you don't necessarily have to spend several $1,000s to improve your handling and your ride. But a word of caution, springs, shocks, and coilover setups that seem too cheap, well, they're cheap for a reason. And you might be disappointed if you spend 500 bucks, do all the work of swapping it all in, having the car aligned, only to find out you really should have spent around $1,000 and got what you really wanted and maybe even needed. You just gotta do the research for your specific car. Just ask all the friendly people in forums and Facebook groups. But also just make sure to do a search first or they'll probably douse you in fire. All right, last but not least, you've got your car all tuned up, stopping right, turning right, it's lower now so your Instagram is taking off, and you're figuring out how to drive it. It's finally time to bow to the car gods and pray for more power. That's never, not one time, worked for me, but I keep trying anyway. A good intake and exhaust will do a little, but mostly just make your car sound better. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if your car is turbocharged or supercharged, by far, the biggest gain you can get for the smallest amount of dinero is a tune. We're talking like 20 or 30% increase in power. And even if you're rocking something naturally aspirated, a proper tune is usually good for around 10 or so horsepower. Unless, of course, 10 horsepower is 20 or 30% of your total power, then, well, probably just focus more on the next thing on this list. It's expensive to make power, especially if you want to do it reliably. And every car is a little different. Like, a good aftermarket set of headers for an E46 M3 or a C5 Corvette make a huge difference. But on, I don't know, like an S2000 or a BRZ, you're looking at like 3 or 4 wheel horsepower at best. And honestly, the juice just ain't worth the squeeze. So best practices for making more power are going to vary a lot, depending on what car you're trying to make that power out of. All right, we made it to the honorable mention. This one should be pretty obvious. Lose as much weight as possible. Not you, your car. I mean, if you're like me, and let's be honest, I can afford to shed a few pounds and every little bit helps. But I'm talking about empty out your trunk and ditch the big ass sub. For a track day, lose your floor mats and the spare tire. Empty out the glove box and doors. This one doesn't cost you a single dime. And like Colin Chapman says, simplify and add lightness. Now, you can go crazy here and see a pretty big result. I mean, there's a reason race cars don't have full interiors and back seats. You don't have to go to that level for a street car though. Just at minimum, make sure you're not lugging around anything you don't need to be. The lighter you are, the less power you need. You stop, go, and turn quicker. And you'll even save a few bucks at the gas pump. So now you don't have to feel so guilty about buying that Red Bull that you know you don't need. And that's it. Thanks for watching this episode of Idealist here on Ideal Cars. I've been Trav. I had a ton of fun making this one, so let me know if you liked it or not down in the comments. Go check out this episode Brad just did on the GR Corolla. Most importantly, keep on living that ideal lifestyle, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.